The year is 1939. The world watches as Europe erupts into chaos. World War II has begun. Beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, a different kind of battle is unfolding. This is a war waged in the shadows, a silent and deadly game of cat and mouse. Submarines, the stealthy predators of the sea, are about to play a pivotal role in this global conflict. These underwater vessels, armed with torpedoes and cunning tactics, have the power to cripple entire navies and choke supply lines. Among the many nations that employed submarines in World War II, Germany's Kriegsmarine stood out for its ruthlessness and effectiveness. Their U-boat fleet, under the command of Admiral Karl Donitz, wreaked havoc on Allied shipping lanes, particularly in the treacherous waters of the North Atlantic. These gray wolves of the sea, as they were known, operated with deadly precision, sinking thousands of tons of vital supplies bound for Britain. The Battle of the Atlantic, as it came to be known, was a grueling and relentless struggle for control of the seas. For the Allies, victory in this theater was paramount. Britain, heavily reliant on supplies from across the Atlantic, faced starvation and economic collapse if the U-boat threat could not be contained. The stakes were incredibly high, and the fate of the free world hung precariously in the balance. The German U-boat fleet posed an existential threat to the Allied war effort. These submarines, often operating in groups known as wolf packs, would stalk their prey relentlessly, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. Their primary targets were the merchant ships carrying vital supplies to Britain from North America. Food, fuel, ammunition, and raw materials, everything essential for a nation at war, were at risk. The U-boats were surprisingly effective in the early years of the war. Their stealth, combined with the Kriegsmarine's innovative tactics, allowed them to inflict heavy losses on Allied shipping. The Happy Time, as it was cynically called by U-boat crews, saw Allied ships sunk at an alarming rate. The situation became so dire that Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, famously remarked, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril." The Allies responded to this threat with a combination of technological innovation and sheer determination. Sonar, radar, and improved depth charges were developed and deployed to counter the U-boat menace. Convoys, groups of merchant ships protected by warships, became the standard practice for transatlantic crossings. The skies above the Atlantic were never silent as long-range bombers and escort carriers joined the fight, hunting the U-boats relentlessly. The Battle of the Atlantic was a brutal and costly campaign for both sides. Thousands of sailors lost their lives in the icy depths of the Atlantic, but slowly, the tide began to turn. Allied technological advances, coupled with code-breaking efforts that allowed them to decipher German naval communications, began to take their toll on the U-boat fleet. In the annals of naval warfare, certain vessels transcend their mechanical nature and become shrouded in an aura of mystery and intrigue. Such is the case with the German submarine U-977, a Type ZACC U-boat that would etch its name in history not for its wartime exploits, but for the enigmatic circumstances surrounding its final voyage. Launched in 1943, U-977 was a relative latecomer to the Battle of the Atlantic. By the time it entered service, the tide of the war had already begun to turn against Germany. U-977 was assigned to the 4th U-boat flotilla, based in Stettin, Poland. Under the command of Oberleutnant Zur See Heinz Schaffer, a 25-year-old veteran of the underwater war, the submarine conducted several patrols in the North Atlantic. However, U-977's service record was unremarkable, with no confirmed sinkings of Allied vessels to its name. It seemed destined to fade into obscurity, just another cog in the vast machinery of war. But fate, it seemed, had other plans for U-977. As the war in Europe drew to a close, the situation for Germany and its armed forces became increasingly desperate. With Allied armies closing in from both east and west, the writing was on the wall for the Third Reich. In the final days of April 1945, As Berlin burned under a relentless Allied bombardment, a flurry of coded messages crackled through the ether, reaching the few remaining German U-boats still at sea. These orders, shrouded in secrecy, directed the submarines to make for neutral ports or to scuttle their vessels rather than risk capture. Section 4. Destination Unknown. The Secret Mission of U-977. On May 2, 1945, U-977 slipped its moorings in Kristiansand, Norway, embarking on an enigmatic voyage. The submarine carried a crew of 49 men, all sworn to secrecy about their mission. Rumors and speculation have swirled around this final voyage ever since. Some speculate it transported high-ranking Nazi officials to South America. Others believe it carried looted gold and valuables. U-977 was equipped with the Schnorkel, a revolutionary technology. This allowed it to remain underwater for extended periods, eluding detection. As U-977 disappeared into the Atlantic, it left behind unanswered questions. What was its true destination? What secrets did it carry? And what became of its crew? These questions continue to fascinate historians and fuel imaginations. U-977's perilous journey. The voyage of U-977 was a testament to the endurance of both man and machine. Confined within the cramped hull, the 49-man crew faced danger and uncertainty. The North Atlantic, prone to sudden storms and treacherous currents. In the closing days of World War II, it was a battleground. The Schnorchel, a technological marvel, was far from perfect. Operating it required constant vigilance. A slight miscalculation could flood the engine compartment, the air inside heavy with diesel fuel, sweat, and waste. Fresh water was rationed, and the food became monotonous. Despite hardships, the crew pressed on, fueled by duty and discipline. Surrender to the Allies was not an option. Rumors of executions fueled fear in German sailors. Isolation and uncertainty took their toll. The vast ocean seemed like a watery prison. Cut off from the world, they speculated about their families. The war in Europe was over, but their journey continued. Section 6. Vanished. The sudden disappearance of U-977. As U-977 continued its clandestine voyage, it seemed to vanish into thin air. Weeks turned into months, and still there was no sign of the submarine. The Allies, having effectively dismantled the German U-boat network, had no way of tracking the elusive vessel. U-977, like a phantom of the deep, had slipped through their grasp. Its disappearance fueled rampant speculation and gave rise to a plethora of theories, some more plausible than others. The lack of any concrete information about U-977's whereabouts only served to heighten the mystery. Had the submarine succumbed to mechanical failure, sinking to a watery grave in the unforgiving depths of the Atlantic? Had it been intercepted and sunk by Allied forces, its destruction kept secret for reasons unknown? Or had U-977, as some whispered, successfully evaded detection and reached the shores of South America, its crew, and whatever secrets it carried melting into the vastness of the South American continent? The disappearance of U-977 became a source of endless fascination for conspiracy theorists and armchair historians alike. The submarine's final voyage, shrouded in secrecy and cloaked in the fog of war, provided fertile ground for speculation. The lack of definitive answers only served to further ignite the imagination, turning U-977 into a maritime enigma, a ghost ship forever lost in the annals of naval history. Section 7. Whispers and rumors, speculation runs rampant. With each passing day that U-977 remained unaccounted for, the rumor mill spun faster. Theories, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish, began to circulate, each more intriguing and improbable than the last. The world, still reeling from the horrors of World War II, seemed hungry for stories of intrigue and mystery, and U-977's disappearance provided the perfect fodder for such narratives. The most persistent and sensational rumor was that U-977 had been part of a secret operation to ferry high-ranking Nazis and looted treasure to South America. The notion of top Nazi officials, including possibly Hitler himself, escaping justice and finding refuge in a distant land, captured the public imagination. This theory was further fueled by the well-documented presence of Nazi sympathizers and networks in certain South American countries, particularly Argentina, which had remained neutral for much of the war. Adding fuel to the fire were reports of unidentified submarines sighted off the coast of South America in the months following the end of World War II. These sightings, often attributed to unreliable witnesses or misidentified vessels, nonetheless added to the growing mystique surrounding U-977 and its alleged connection to Nazi escape routes. The line between fact and fiction became increasingly blurred, as speculation and hearsay filled the void left by concrete information. The mystery of U-977, fueled by a potent mix of wartime intrigue, Nazi lore, and the enduring allure of the unknown, refused to fade from public consciousness. The submarine, once a weapon of war, had been transformed into an object of fascination, its story passed down through generations, each retelling adding new layers of intrigue and speculation.